If you have several ACSs in your design, it's obviously helpful to be able to see the location and orientation of each one. There are a couple of ways of seeing ACSs in your design. Now, at the moment, in View Attributes, my ACS triad is on. So I'm seeing the location and orientation of the current ACS. The tool to use, which will show you all the ACSs in the design, is this one, which is called Select ACS. And if I click on that, then both ACSs will display. Notice too that the names of the ACSs are also displayed. This is the B, this is the A, and all I have to do is click on an ACS to make it current. So if I want to revert back to the A, I move my cursor and click on it, and the A is now the current ACS. Let's do that again. Click on that, click on the B, and the B becomes current. If I have the ACS triad off, as I do now, then when I use this Select ACS tool, I still see both of them. I'll select the A becomes current, but since the ACS triad is off, then I don't see the triad. However, the line tool is running and the compass is oriented to the A ACS. Try that for yourself, but when you're finished, turn the ACS triad back on again. Next tool to look at is Rotate an ACS, which is this one. So if I click on that, and note that I have A selected at this point, since that's current, I'll click on the Rotate. In the Tool Settings box, we see two methods of doing this. And in each case, you're rotating the ACS about the Z-axis. And the Z-axis, of course, is coming from the center point of the ACS directly towards you out of the screen. And that remains constant since this is a 2D drawing. The first method is to simply change the angle, and that will rotate the ACS about its current location. So I'm going to type in 30 degrees and enter, and select the view. Keep your eye on the prompts, of course. I'll click in the view, and my ACS rotates by 30 degrees. Let me undo that. So I'm going to go back to the Rotate tool, and this time enter -30. Select the view, takes my ACS back to its original location. And the second method is Absolute. Now, if I turn Absolute on, then the orientation is rotated about the unrotated or top orientation, which is different from the first method, which is technically called the relative rotation. Absolute means that the rotation will be from the positive x-axis, not from the current rotation of the ACS. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to put a negative in there and enter it, make that stick. Then I'm going to select the view. Now keep your eye on the ACS. If you note it, it's rotated more than 30 degrees. In fact, it's rotated 30 degrees clockwise from positive x-axis, which is different from the previous rotation with absolute off. Now, you'll need to experiment with that to fully understand what's happening. Just keep in mind that with absolute off, you're rotating the ACS relative to its current orientation, whereas with absolute on, you're rotating from the top orientation, or in other words, from 0 degrees on the positive x-axis. Now I'm going to go back to the original A, so I'll double-click my A. There's my original orientation for A. This is why you save these orientations. So the next tool to use is Move an ACS. That's this tool, Move ACS. My current ACS highlights, and I'm dragging the ACS on the cursor. Simply pop it into place, snap to that point there, for example, and the ACS is now located there. Now, one important point to keep in mind here is that the ACS symbol, the triad, merely indicates the current orientation of the ACS. It does not indicate the 0,0 point in the drawing. That remains at the global origin, leastways at the moment. So if you want to locate the ACS triad at the global origin, you must enter the key in xy = 0, 0 in the utilities keying box. That was discussed in the level 1 course. However, you can change the location of 0, 0 with the go equals key in, and using that go equals key in, you could locate the 0, 0 point at the origin of the triad, thus creating a monument point about which to work. You might try that yourself if your work involves monument points. Now, you might be thinking that when you've finished with the ACS system and you want to return the compass and or the ACS triad to normal plan or top orientation, you have essentially three choices. You can press T at the keyboard to rotate the compass to its top or ortho orientation. In this case, the compass rotates to the top rotation, but the triad remains in its last use orientation. So let's give this a try. I'm going to start the line tool and start the line. Now the compass is still oriented with the ACS, so if I press T at this point at the keyboard, the compass will rotate. I'm back to the top orientation for the compass. But as you can see, the ACS has remained in place. Right-click to stop that. The second thing you can do is to rotate the triad to 0 using the absolute mode, which we just looked at. Try that for yourself. And the third method is to create and save an ACS that has a 0 rotation and activate that ACS when you are finished. Let's try to do that too. We need to save a new ACS, so we'll save an ACS and we'll call it 0. And having done that, we will right-click on the new 0 ACS and we'll reset to global. Notice that everything changes to 0, 0. And if I now double-click it, the ACS reverts back to its top orientation, and as a bonus, it's popped to the 0, 0 location in the drawing plane. Try that for yourself as well. Now, one last thing before I move on to the next video. You can use AccuDraw, of course, to rotate the compass, and you would normally use the RA shortcut for that. So I'm going to start a line again, going to snap it, say, to this point, and I want to rotate the compass to align with this line. So you would typically use either the RA shortcut to set a permanent rotation, or the RQ shortcut for a temporary rotation. Let's use the RA shortcut. So I press RA at the keyboard. The prompt says define the x-axis origin. I'm going to choose that point. Then rotate the box that follows to that. My compass instantly rotates, and that now remains. Note that the triad is in place at the x origin and has rotated with the compass. Now with this RA shortcut rotation in place, I'd like to save that for future use. And to do that, I need to use the WA shortcut, which means right ACS. So let's try the WA shortcut. Now I need focus, of course, in AccuDraw, so I will press F11 and press WA. This is the right ACS. I'm going to call this one C and say OK. And as soon as I do, the new ACS pops into place and is now saved for future use. So try that for yourself too. It's quite often in a drawing that you'll rotate the ACS using RA or RQ, and quite often you'll need to save that for future use. And one last thing, if I turn off the coordinates box, and if I want to recall a saved ACS, I can do that again through a shortcut. In this case, the shortcut is GA or Get ACS. So let's try GA at the keyboard. Which one do I want? Let's go back to B and we'll say OK. And my B ACS pops into place. That's a slightly quicker method than having to open the ACS dialog box and selecting an ACS. Again, try that too.